You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible.
Oh, it must be something to be a threatening black man. Yesterday, a judge in Alamance County, North Carolina, denied a prosecutor's request to bar my next guest from county property. The prosecutor actually said this brother was a threat, a danger to the community, and insisted that Reverend Greg Drumwright and the supporters are likely to riot. Why? Because they have been organizing marches dealing with the issue of early voting. And that was, of course, you might remember, we played you the video where a group of demonstrators were pepper sprayed on the way to the polls. However, the judge said the prosecutor's motion simply was too broad and inadequate. Guess what? On Monday, Reverend Drumright and the others marched to try to get the charges against the protesters dropped. He joins us right now on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Reverend, how you doing?
Good evening, Mr. Martin. It's good to see you again since you was last in the streets with us at North Carolina A&T.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Why are you scaring these white folks in North Carolina?
Hey, man, I'm actually in my hometown, and all of this is going on where I grew up in Alamance County, particularly Graham, North Carolina. We were leading folks to the polls on the final day of one-stop early voting registration, and here we are, still fighting for our rights.
We showed that video. We remember when it happened. And because of what they did, there were people who they pepper sprayed who couldn't register that day.
Exactly, Roland. Literally, I was being released from jail, and I noticed a brother about 5 minutes before me in the process. And I didn't even think that he knew who I was. I just acknowledged him, and seeing that he was about to leave the jail, knowing that election day was 3 days later, I just asked him, like I've been asking everybody, hey, bro, are you voting? He turned around and looked at me and said, Reverend Drumright, I was actually going to vote with you today. And so that moment, the disappointment of that moment has stuck with me ever since October 31st. In Graham, North Carolina, in my own hometown, where I've been organizing against white supremacy and racial inequality, our peaceful Get Out the Vote rally was interrupted by pepper spray that they released, not one, not two, but three different occasions on a large crowd of peaceful marchers and potential voters and things. We had elderly people in the street, lying in the street, suffering from the pepper spray. We had 5-year-old, 7-year-old kids that have suffered from those traumatic events. And we've been fighting ever since then.
Well, folks need to understand this is not the first time folks in North Carolina have done this. In fact, state legislators actually banned Reverend William Barber and others from the state capitol, saying they were protesting and making too much noise. They eventually lost that battle in court. And so what this prosecutor is essentially saying is you do not have a First Amendment right to protest, which is a constitutional guarantee in this country.
Yeah, bro, the story actually started even before what's happened and played out this week. Earlier in the summer, the city officials in Graham, North Carolina, lifted a ban of anyone that would stand in the street or on the sidewalk and protest. If two people stood together on the sidewalk and had a Black Lives Matter sign or was saying no justice, no peace, they would be locked up and sent away. And so we had to sue the city of Graham. The lawyers committee represented me and the NAACP in the case to sue the city of Graham to get a temporary restraining order on that ban for peaceful protest. So this has been playing out ever since George Floyd's summer has begun. So yesterday, I had to listen to a DA argue on the behalf of the state of North Carolina that I was a danger to the community of Alamance County, and all that we've been doing is peacefully organized protest since June.
Looks like we lost Reverend Drumright there. I want to bring in Erica. Erica, the point that he just made there is a critical one, and that is Reverend Drumright still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry, we had lost your connection there. I want you to finish. You dipped out there. The last question for you: is this the end of this process, or are y'all still battling them over those charters from that march in October?
Roland, we are out on bond, but still fighting for our freedom. That is literally my sentiments. I am still facing trumped up felony charges for simply working to lead people to the polls on October 31st. I am literally still fighting those charges. We have more than a dozen people that have been fighting against these charges. We call it the Graham 12, free the Graham 12. I'm literally the new face of what a felon could be in my own home county. And so we need everyone in America that believe in peaceful protests, that believe in fighting for equal rights, that believe in fighting for voter rights, that believe in fighting against voter suppression. This is what voter suppression looks like in 2020. So I encourage you all, get in touch with us on our website, j4tng.org. Justice for the Next Generation. Free the Graham 12 in Alamance.
All right, then, Reverend. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Keep giving them hell there in North Carolina. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Erica Savage, I want to go to you. I mean, look, this is what you're seeing, what you're dealing with is what we saw take place in Ferguson when they just came up with rules and, you can't actually stand for a few seconds. That's just what we're dealing with here, Erica.
Yeah, we're just seeing it now on a more exacerbated level. And then even thinking about, when we talk about people who are folks of faith, I wanted to ask Reverend Drumwright, has he received any support from the white evangelical community? Now, I think we all know the response to that question, but I think that in times like this,
you know doggone well, them white evangelicals ain't saying nothing. They still trying to run up the Paula White.
However, but they're
looks like we lost Erica. Reese, pick up on that.
Yeah, one thing I do want to point out is, I've seen a lot of people comment on how, Trump has lost so many lawsuits and, how this election was the most secure election to date. But we cannot ignore the fact that this kind of voter suppression exists, and it has tangible consequences for people's real lives. When you're targeting Black pastors or activists for felony charges, whether it's about voting, nonviolent peaceful protests for voting or marches to vote, or whether it's protesting the death of, or the murder, I should say, of Breonna Taylor. So we cannot get complacent. We cannot say, the system is working perfectly fine because, Biden and Harris prevailed and Trump lost his lawsuits and his election challenges. We have to really tackle these kind of voter suppression tactics. And I'm very encouraged by the Lawyers Committee, which is always on top of these kinds of things and their involvement. But, like he said, he's not out of the woods yet, and it's just completely unfair. But, what we also have to understand, I'm sure Dr. Carr will be the first to say this, is that his grievance or his offense was violating the sanctity of white supremacy, and that's what happens when Black people vote. So again, you know, it's not about the system is white supremacy. The system is white nationalism, and they can make up whatever rules they want to. They've shown that repeatedly as they go along to keep us in our place. So our votes are just one way of showing an act of resistance to that system. Now, it's not going to dismantle it. I know, Greg, you're going to say that. Not going to dismantle it. It might hold us off a little bit, but you know, it can help us not be extreme white nationalism, maybe a little bit less extreme. Okay, is that okay, Dr. Carr? Did I get that right?
I'm with you. I'm with you. That's right.
But the thing, right? But the thing here, Greg, for all these people who say how safe it was, the bottom line is we still had to deal with massive voter suppression. We can't forget what Donald Trump and the Republicans allowed to take place with the Postal Service. They tried to steal the election, and if they did not catch the hell from that judge, that Black judge, Emmett Sullivan, from Democrats in Congress, they would have kept thousands or millions of ballots from arriving on time. That was their plan.
That was their plan, Roland. In fact, I got a text a second ago from somebody that said they wanted to know whether you were out there in that parking lot by yourself, and I assured them that you were not, because you were in the South.
No. It's four of us here. It's four of us here.
But really, I'm really following up on, and I'm in full agreement, Reese, with you. You know, we have to have tactics that push back our open enemies. We can't win a war in one fell swoop. This is almost a 3-century criminal enterprise we're in now, and we have to fight incrementally, and sometimes we suffer setbacks. So, for example, let's talk about another North Carolina A&T student body president. You just interviewed one, Reverend Greg Drumwright, but let's talk about another one, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who transferred from the University of Illinois because he wouldn't let him play quarterback for the football team, and then went to A&T, and that's where Dr. King and them found him, right? But when Jesse Jackson and Martin King and Septima Clark and all the women and men who were fighting in that moment of liberation struggle, they were confronting Jim Crow, the same kind of ridiculous rules. There's no constitution except for the judiciary's ability to interpret it. Just go look at Marbury versus Madison. Fast forward almost 60 years, and you got another former North Carolina A&T student body president who is now confronting the fact, as Reese said, that you tripwired white supremacy, which means the law is what the sheriff said it is at the moment. And if you're going to the court, remember, that's the third branch and the one that's going to be the hardest to dismantle in terms of our open confrontation with white supremacy. Now, Reverend Drumwright is in court suing Terry Johnson and Christy Cole, those law enforcement officials, for intimidating voters. A real judge, if there were a real constitution that would be interpreted consistently, would say, of course they were intimidating voters. But the law is what the sitting judge says it is. Alito told these white nationalists in the week before the election in GOP versus Bookvar, if you can get it close enough to steal, bring it back after November the 2nd, and we'll see if we can throw those ballots out to come in. But it wasn't close enough to steal. This is why voting is important.
Right.
Don't take these things, as Reese said, as victories. Oh, the courts have shown that democracy works. Democracy don't work. This is an open war. It wasn't close enough to steal. You know what's going to keep that brother out of jail? People in the street. Yeah. Trust me on that.
And that's why this show matters, because when Kristen Clark, when she sent that tweet out saying that he was one of their clients and what they were doing to him, I immediately sent Kristen a text. I said, shoot me his information. She did. And I said, we will have you on the show tomorrow. So I certainly thank Kristen for doing that, which is why shows like this matter. And I keep telling folks this. Look, folks, you got to support what we do. There are a whole bunch of y'all who are watching us right now. More than 6,000 of you on YouTube. There's folks are watching us on Facebook and Periscope. You must support what we do. What your support allows us to be here on the ground here in Georgia. I'm going to be here until Tuesday. We're going to be back every single week through January 5th. we're going to have crews going all across the state. We're going to be live streaming the rally taking place on Saturday. And so it's important to be able to tell our stories because, see, here, we ain't got to ask permission to have the Reverend on. We don't have to have permission to talk about what we talk about. I didn't have to ask anybody, could we come down here and broadcast from the John Ossoff rally? I just had to ask my damn self. But that's why it's important that we own. Why we must own. And again, I know black folks, look, black folks, we get excited when somebody got a new TV show or somebody got a new radio show. But the question is, do they own it? Because if they don't own it, that means they can be replaced. They can be canceled.
Back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.